Do you guys remember the very first concert you went to? The first live band that you saw growing up? I remember mine pretty well. Mine was the very first band that I ever saw in concert and saw live was Lynyrd Skynyrd. And the warm-up band for the show was another band called the Charlie Daniels Band. And this was back in I want to say 73. And the band at the time had not even come out with their second album yet. They only had one album out. And we got to hear Sweet Home Alabama and Swamp Music and Working for MCA and whatever hits were on that second album. We got to hear those before they were released because they played them there at the concert. I've never smelled so much pot in my life. It was at the Fairgrounds Arena that year, and there was just pot in the air. So I was 14 years old, and I was just getting high from being there, because it was just, I mean, the air was just full of it. You could smell it all over the place. And the only thing I didn't like about it was making my hair smell. And what happened was me and my buddy lost our ride home, and we couldn't get a hold of anybody. And what was so embarrassing was I had to end up calling my mother to come pick us up after that concert was over. And it took her about 30 minutes to get there, maybe longer, but she picked us up and she was driving us home, and she goes, "You know, you guys smell like smoke." And my buddy was in the back seat. He goes, "Yeah, it was great, man." And I was like, shut up. And it was a great concert. I'll never forget that for my first experience at going to a live show. I think the Charlie Daniels Band at that time also had a big hit on the radio. I can't remember the title of it. You guys might remember. I can't remember if it was Devil Went Down to Georgia or another hit that they had. But those guys put on a really good show. It was, he put on a really good show. And when Lynyrd Skynyrd came out, we were about, I want to say only about 3 rows from the stage. And I was sitting right under Alan Collins. And before they started, him or somebody else came out there and flipped a bunch of guitar picks out at us, and my buddy got one, and I thought that was pretty cool. And on the other side, from where we were sitting, opposite side was, I could see, I'm trying to remember their names. You guys probably know their names. Ronnie Van Zant was the singer, and he was standing in the middle. But on the other side, there was Gary Rossington and Hill. Or no, well, I can't remember the bass player's name. You guys probably can remind me. But Ed King was over there. He was also there. The drummer, I actually think I met their original drummer in the audience. He was this guy that, if it wasn't him, it was somebody that looked exactly like him, and he was down there by the sound mixing board people. Back in those days, you had people kind of sitting in the middle of the crowd on the floor with these big sound mixer boards that made sure they were getting all their mics and everything set up correctly. I don't remember who the drummer was. The original drummer was standing down there by those guys, but when they started playing, I didn't see him up there. It was some other guy. And they put on a great show. It was really a good show. I'm thankful and grateful I got to see the band with all their original members. It was pretty cool. I think I saw them one other time a few years later when I was able to drive, so I didn't have to call my mom or anything like that. But I'm just curious to know what your guys' first concert was. Who were the bands? Who was the lineup? What you remember most about it? I remember hearing Sweet Home Alabama, and it was awesome, but I don't remember it. I didn't really remember it that well until their record came out again, and it became a big hit, and I was like, oh yeah, that's what we were listening to. That was so cool. And that started my 1970s kind of concert going experiences. I saw other bands later in high school and early in college. I had seen other bands live, like saw the Eagles on their Hotel California tour. I saw Led Zeppelin. They sold out like within 2 hours. I had to buy a scalper ticket for them. Saw the Doobie Brothers with Michael McDonald in an outdoor concert. Who else? I missed The Who, and I missed Chicago, and I missed Santana when they came to town. I was either working, or I remember on the Chicago one, I had the flu real bad, so I stayed home. Trying to remember some other bands I used to see back then. Can't think of them right now. There were a bunch of good shows though that came through town back in the 70s. It was concert after concert in the summertime back then, and if you could afford it, I think I was working most of the time though. I was probably at my imperial position of bagger stock boy at the grocery store at the time, but that was my first concert anyway. Let me know what yours was down below.